So I'm sitting in this room and contemplating just all the things that happened today, and out of nowhere I just have this urge of retiring my parents. And I mean, it is not out of nowhere, but I'm 24 years old, and my parents probably got married in their late 20s, 28, 26, probably late 20s. And I mean, I can't even imagine marrying in my late 20s right now, but I'm just saying, like, uh, most of their life, their prime young time, the late 20s, you're still young. You're young until you're like 45, 50, right? And most of that time, all that my parents ever did was to live for their kids, me and my sister. And every time I think about spending money on anything, any pleasurable thing or any course that I want to buy, that the fact that my parents gave their prime time just so that we could exist, I, I just couldn't I'm just not able to wrap my head around the fact that, like, how could you just give how could you just give away your life to your kids. And I understand that you shouldn't really care about anyone. Life is a personal journey, and it's like you're traveling in a train and you meet people. It might be your parents, your best friends, your relatives, or your future spouse, or anyone like that. You just meet them in this journey, and you shouldn't really care about them. At least that's what the whole philosophy and detachment is. But the thing is, my parents, they gave me everything, and I mean, they worked for it. They gave everything that I could ask for. They gave me the freedom. They I wouldn't say they have been a really good um, inspiration in general. Not really. They are not rich, but they really are an exemplary, like showed an exemplary behavior in being selfless towards their kids. I could never imagine that, or maybe it's like I'm I'm too young to understand, and I just have this like super urgency. Like, I just want to make sure that my parents never work again, like, ever in their life. I just don't want my mom and my dad to to work for money ever again. I i have no idea what I'm going to do. I have all these facts, all this online business, all this offline business. I know I know some sales tactics, but I'm a really bad executioner. I never execute ideas. I start things, and I start things with super excitement, and eventually the motivation dies out. And I recently got to know that it's not a it's not a wrong thing for people to start things and leave them in the middle. It's actually that the energy that they're getting at the beginning of starting things is because of their curiosity. And after all the facts, I mean, obviously not all the facts, but the needed facts. Like, suppose I started learning guitar, and after 20, 30 days, I just lost interest because I realized I was I was not craving this feeling of being a guitarist. I was actually chasing the feeling of the attention that I would get if I know how to play guitar. And like chasing the wrong things is like the biggest mistake you can do, because if you are super self-aware, right, which most of the population is not, but if you're like super self-aware, you know every move that you're making, everything that's going around you, um, then if you're doing something that drains your energy, it is worse than imprisonment, right? Because every move feels like anything that you do that drains your energy. Like you're in a concert, you like the songs, but you are not with your friends or you're not with people that you're really vibing with, then that's it. You're in a prison. I went through that feeling. I know how it is to be like super self-aware, like super hyper aware of everything that's going around. And the disadvantage of that is you overthink. And these are all not like bad things, these are good things. An overthinker barely makes a move, but when he does make a move, it totally makes sense. So I'm not degrading myself that I have like these bad habits, but I'm just saying like how much more time would I waste than rather than just working on something that would retire my parents and like allow them to do anything. Because I wonder, right now I'm wondering what dreams would my parents have had before I was born. I'm a firstborn child, so like I was born first, and then I had a small sister, and I'm just sitting here and thinking, what were some of these things my parents wanted to do and they were not able to do because there are kids, two kids, like two whole other lives that they have to care about. They cannot go out because there are kids in the house. I mean, if you have small kids, you cannot do many things, right? Like you cannot go to parties, you cannot go to like destinations, because you have to take care about these kids, and these kids have school and they cannot have a leave. So I'm just saying like I fear that uh, if I was more of a burden than an advantage for my parents, because obviously any parent wants their kid to be better than them, greater than them, richer than them. Usually a parent wants that, but I don't think I even met the basic criteria to be like a good son with gratitude. I never really gave back. Most of my friends are in a job and they give back, right? It's so easy for them. And me, I tried to get a job and I got into two jobs, and I was never able to do the jobs. Not because I was not aware of the techniques. I can do the job. The thing is, I cannot work in an environment which limits me, right? And it just feels so stupid for me to go and give my punch, give my fingerprint at 9:30 a.m. and like again come back at 5:30 or 5 p.m. It just feels so robotic, like a slave thing, and that's why I was not able to do jobs. But I'm sitting here and thinking, okay, I'm not doing a job because I would kill myself. Really, like I just can't do any jobs, not because I'm not intelligent. You don't need to be intelligent to do a job. You just need a skill. But I'm just saying, like, it's not the ability, but it's just the environment that doesn't support me. Uh, but I'm not doing a job, but I should do something that would replace the need for me to do a job. And obviously, I don't come from a really wealthy family, so there's always this need for money, but also there is a freedom that my parents gave me. They allowed me to do anything. And that's the test, right? Like, if you had the right direction, like this is what you should do, or you don't have enough intelligent IQ or bandwidth of your brain that you don't know that these many options exist in the world, so that you can take these many routes and these are the outcomes that would come, these are the results, these are the amount of this much amount of money is needed, and this is what you get. Like, thinking about all these options needs intelligence. And if you have like low IQ and a personality that would just listen to a particular technique or method and just go through with it, I'm telling you, you're lucky. But some of us are not like that. uh, we think about multiple ways, thousand different scenarios, and there you go. Like, I did nothing. I don't do a job, and I have this freedom of doing anything. My parents, they allowed me to do anything. They just want money. Um, at least they don't. They just want me to be able to live on my own, at least to take care of myself. But I just I have no clue whatsoever. You name a topic, I'll tell you many things about it. But will I work on it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because all I have in my mind is, you know, just to have freedom to travel, freedom to wake up anytime in the day. I'm sorry, and eat good food. Pretty much, I just want freedom in life. And most of my friends are, like I said, are in jobs. They don't have that freedom. They don't. And not some of them, most of them don't realize that real freedom is like, it's different from what they are enjoying. Obviously, they have money that comes from the job. Small or big, money gives freedom. Money is like measure of choice. The more richer you are, the more choices you have, the more freedom of choice you have. So they do have that, but there are some fundamental things that they're missing out. They cannot go anywhere that they want to. They cannot skip a day without asking someone's permission. And if they just sit and look around, we live in a floating rock in space. Like, nothing is that relevant. But again, everything has its upside and downside. You don't need to be creative in a job, nor you need to solve big problems. You're given a task, unless it's a research job, and you do it. You do it in a better way. You get good pay, but you're never going to be able to retire your parents, ever. Like, ever, unless you work for like 20 years, or maybe 15, or maybe 10. Still, 10, a decade of your life, just to have that freedom. I just can't wrap my head around it. And this brings me to this idea, like, maybe the dilemma of what should I do exists only because I have freedom to do anything. Maybe every hyper rich kid goes through this, like, what should I really do? Because if I do make a bad move, I should live with it. It's one life, one life. Unless you believe in karmic cycle, but still your experience of this particular life in this particular time is unique. You might have many lifetimes, but being born as this particular person at this particular time in this particular place, that is unique. So it is one life, it is one life, it's one shot, and you have to make it right. And this pressure to make it right is like just boiling my blood from inside. uh, I'm not overthinking, but I'm just over analyzing what to do so that I can just retire my parents as fast as possible. And I looked around. Who's making most of the money? Hmm? The ones who are making most of the money is the ones who control consumable goods. That's a FMCG, uh, the grocery guys or the beer companies, the beverage companies. And I cannot sit here and start a beverage company. I cannot start a supply chain of foods like noodles or some Coca-Cola um, Coca-Cola alternative in India, but I can definitely make something that's consumable because content is consumable. Maybe I'll work on it, and like this. I just want to make sure my parents don't worry about me, and also they have the freedom. They should have the freedom to do whatever they want in life, and there should be a number for it. Like a retirement number. um, like the amount of money that you need to have with you so that you don't need to work for the next, I don't know, 100 years, or maybe like 40. I don't know what it is. um, you don't need to work for the next 1 year. Then you probably need to have everything. You need to have the money that it would take for you to eat, sleep, and travel. I think there's a number for it. I'm not able to remember. uh, and once you get that number, now you can sit and work on your experiment. And I'm just thinking, like, how many ideas my parents would have had when they were my age. I'm 24. And what was my mom thinking when she was 24? What was my dad thinking when he was 24? And did they really think that having me would be a good thing? Questionable, because they made close to zero returns on me as a kid. Zero returns. I couldn't sleep. I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. I cannot enjoy anything because I know, because there is a voice in my head that is shouting that there are two people who gave everything just so you can slack on your goals. Like, it's tough. You cannot I just cannot live with myself if I did not do anything that would make my parents happy. I did grow up in a strict household. I would say that. But again, at the end of the day, I have super good freedom. Like, I have my own room. It's all paid for. I'm not the one paying for it. I will do something um, that's gonna make sure my my parents they just don't need to think about working again or just think about money. That's it. My my short term goal is that. My long term goal I don't know. My short term goal, retire my parents. That's it. Like, go have your freedom because you have me. I'm young, I'm strong, I also read books. It's not a flex, but reading books in this generation is like super rare, so it's okay. And obviously, this is a YouTube video, so if you also have this urge and you think it's relatable, something relatable to you, and um, you have any suggestions, you have any thoughts, your opinions, your comments, uh, there was just 10 subscribers on my YouTube channel for now, so I'm basically talking to myself. I don't think I even have 10 subscribers. I think I have like 4. So I'm basically talking to myself here. Uh, but I'm open for suggestions. I just wish I can just show gratitude to my parents, and not just in the form of words, but in the form of actual material, like money and things that people can actually see, and something that I can feel. Okay, I bought a car, I bought a house, I bought uh, a gold chain. I don't know. It's not just materialistic. Um, my parents are not able to say what their son does in front of their friends, and I really failed as a son if they're struggling to say something. Hey, my son has a job in Google. My son has a job in TCS. What does your son do? Well, my son struggles to take decisions. That's what my parents would say, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I just want my parents to have a good life because I'm just not able to sleep. It's 2:30 a.m. Okay? I'm struggling to sleep because there are voices in my head. Voices, not one voice. The voices in my head just shouting. Many scenarios where I would just end up being a failure. It's not fear, it's just I have control over the choices that I can make. And what if I make a bad choice? I don't know if that makes sense. Thank you.